Hi everyone, I'm the Limitless Librarian, and today I finished reading this 1300 page monstrosity that is Haruki Murakami's 1Q84. I don't know if that's specifically how I'm supposed to say the title, but that's how I'm going to say it. 1Q84. This is the longest book I've ever read. As I said, it clocks in at over 1,300 pages. It is technically a trilogy in one volume, but the three separate books can't really stand on their own. You can't just read the first one and call that a complete story, in the sense of it being the first in a series. So I'm calling it one book. Most people seem to consider it one book. This was my first venture into Murakami's writing, and I'd heard it was pretty weird. I'd heard Murakami in general was pretty weird, I should say. And I picked this book up in particular because, like probably many other people, I was led to believe it was a retelling of some kind of Orwell's 1984, which I love and feel is a very important and relevant book to read. So, what did I think? How did I feel about the longest book I've ever read? Is it worth all those pages? Was it as weird as I'd been told or I'd been led to expect? Stay tuned to find out. So to answer the first question, I can't even really say whether or not this warrants the 1,300 pages. After reading it, with hindsight, if you think about the overall plot, it doesn't feel like something that should take 1,300 pages to get through. And yet every chapter somehow feels necessary or meaningful when you're reading it. The plot overall isn't really what sells this book for me. It's the writing style more like. I really like the writing style. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so what is the plot? So this book follows two protagonists, a lady named Almame, who is a fitness instructor, and a man named Tengo, who is a writer and works in book publishing. And the two of them met once when they were met at school when they were kids, but haven't seen each other for 20 years. And so at the start, their stories seem entirely separate. Almame has been employed by one of her clients to basically be an assassin for men who abuse women, and Tengo has been convinced to ghostwrite this book written by the 17-year-old girl with the hopes of winning this literary prize. So both of them are involved in these very dangerous, risky situations. However, unbeknownst to them all, both to the protagonists and the people around them involved with them, they are getting involved with this cult called Sakigake, which is like a religious commune cult, and these mysterious little people. This is a magical realism sort of book. And so there are these mysterious people that are involved with this cult, and Tengo and Almame draw their attention, and so they need to figure out what is going on and whether or not they can escape the reach of these little people before they are put in more danger. So this is definitely a very slow book. There's a reason it is 1,300 pages for all of that. And there's not lots of action, but the tension, it really rides on the tension more so than the action or the actual plot events, really. So, yeah, even though plot-wise it feels like they shouldn't take 1,300 pages, the writing style makes it feel like it should, and like all of those pages are warranted. It does perhaps go through certain conversations or details that no other book would really bother to include because they're not really relevant. It's just filling things out, even though those things would perhaps be said or done in a real conversation. As for the connection to 1984, it's pretty vague and minimal at best. Like, the Orwell and 1984 were referenced in the book, but it was only like once or twice, and the plot really doesn't seem to have much resemblance to 1984. So, yeah, it wasn't what I expected going in, at least not on that front. As for how weird it was, oh boy, that I managed to underestimate. There are a lot of weird scenes, weird ideas, weird themes. It's, for example, very explicit with sex scenes, and there are some weird sort of sexual ideas in this book. Tengo has sex with Fukaeri, who is the original author of the book, even though she is a minor. But it's like some kind of ritual thing. So it's framed as not real, even though it is real. So there's that to start with. There is, I don't want to spoil too much, but the little people enter and exit through people's mouths. There are like clones that are created. As I said, more ritualistic sex stuff that is intended to be justified, even though it's gross. There's a quote-unquote virgin pregnancy in here. There's just so much weird stuff. Like, this is definitely an 18-plus book. So, yeah, consider yourself warned if you are intrigued by this. It's very weird, and the stuff I'm told is kind of characteristic of Murakami, so this isn't really an isolated example. But yeah, it gets weird. It's really bizarre. It didn't break it for me. Maybe I've been desensitized by the Song of Ice and Fire books. I don't know. But yeah, just heads up. There's some weird and disturbing stuff in here, and it's definitely a bit icky in parts. As I said, the writing style is more what sold this book for me. I definitely like the writing style, and I want to read more Murakami. I have 2 more Murakami books on my TBR, and one of them being the Wind-Up Bird Chronicles, which I'm told is very good and very emotional, very powerful. So hopefully that'll be less weird, less icky. If any of you have read it, let me know if I should read that soon. Honestly, to sum up my thoughts on this book, head empty. Like, no thoughts, head empty. Like, I like the writing style, but aside from that, like, I really don't know how to feel about this book. Like, at some points, I liked the strange atmosphere of it, and at other times, it was, as I said, weird and disturbing. The plot was there, and it was slow, but it also, like, wasn't. It felt like the plot wasn't really the main focus. I definitely liked Tengo more so than Almame. I liked his story better. But I think I liked Almame's story. Like, she kind of grew on me a bit more towards the middle. Yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know how to feel about this book, honestly. I definitely enjoyed it. I did this as a slow burn, by the way. I started reading this in December and just finished it today, 18th of February. I read, like, basically a chapter a day. I have a slow burn book going while I'm reading just other books, so this was that. So yeah, I know I'm not the only person who feels this way about this book, because I saw a review on Goodreads that was basically saying, I think the review said it's like when you bite into a pastry that turns out to be like mostly air-filled, but at the same time it's still yummy in its own way. I don't know. It's definitely one of the most bizarre books I've read, and I've never read anything like it. So yeah, just no thoughts, head empty. So this is probably one of the weirdest and perhaps most unhelpful reviews I've done. But if you've read any Murakami, let me know in the comments. Is this as weird as it gets, or does it get weirder? What ones would you recommend? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to my channel for more book reviews. And as always, do lots of maths, read lots of books, and I'm sure you'll have a perfectly not weird day. If nothing else, your head will be full of more clear thoughts than this book left me with.